This drawing is without question so valuable and so misunderstood. And he went on to explain more about the conscious mind. He says, that's your thinking mind, Bob. Problem with most people is they don't think. They really don't think. Mental activity never constitutes thinking. I remember when he said that, and I never forgot it. He said, that is your thinking mind. It's also referred to as the educational mind. This is you I'm talking about. Now, as I keep building this idea, you're really going to get to know yourself, the world you live in, and the laws that govern your being a lot better. Yet, as you understand yourself a lot better, you're going to find your finances are going to improve, your health is going to improve, your relationships are going to improve, your whole world starts to get better. The educated mind is also referred to sometimes as the intellectual mind. That's where all the intellectual factors are. Remember I told you what they were? You had perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. There's 6 of them. They are our mental muscles. And as you start to understand how to develop them, you can become a very powerful person. If you've ever been in a seminar that I've been in, you know that I can walk up to a person, I can tell them all about themselves. Everything that goes on the inside shows on the outside. It's your intuitive factor that enables you to read that. We hide nothing. And I always do this in a seminar to show off a little bit. I want really get your attention, see what I can do. But then what I really want to do is say, if I can do it, you can do it. See, we watch other people do things and we become fascinated if they're doing it really well. What we want to understand, if we want to do it, we can do what they're doing. The subconscious mind is your emotional mind. When you're emotionally upset, you've got the wrong ideas being fed into that part of your mind. Now, over here on this side, because you can think, you have the ability to choose. And because you can choose, you can accept or reject everything that comes down the road. Everything. Because there's a lot of crazy information coming at us through TV, newspapers, radio, television. Just overhearing restaurants, conversations, if you can get into a restaurant. You can accept or reject everything, and then you have the ability you can originate. Now, the subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to do all those things. All those magnificent abilities are in the conscious mind. The subconscious, it must accept whatever you give to it. Must. It has no ability to reject. And get this, it's what you impress upon your subconscious mind that ultimately turns into results in our life. This is where we want to get our imagination going in high gear. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what you've imagined and what's real. It has no ability to differentiate between the two. Unfortunately, most people imagine what's wrong. They think of what they don't want rather than what they do want. Now look here for a moment. Let's take that knowledge and we'll say, this is you today. There's information coming at you today, and it is terrible information. And it's flowing into your conscious mind. Now you have the ability to think, you have the ability to reject that. You can say, get out of here. And they all go away. But you know something? Most people don't do that. You want to know what they do? This is what they do. They're not thinking at all. Their subconscious mind is wide open. And that information goes right into the subconscious mind. Remember what we said about the subconscious? It has no ability to reject all that negative information. Why do we leave the mind open like that? It's our paradigm. It's how we're programmed. We're literally programmed to live that way.
I think a lot of entrepreneurship and even personal growth is training yourself on how you respond to hard. Because in the early days, hard was, ooh, stop. This isn't good. This is a warning sign. This is a red flag. I should slow down, or I should stop, I should pivot. But the more I think about it as a competitive landscape, as I'm clear on what this path is supposed to look like, and these rocks and these dragons are things that I'm going to have to slay along the way to get the princess or get the treasure, I get happier about the harder it is because I know that no one else will follow.
It's a selection effect.
And I think if you can shift from this is hard to no one else will be able to do this, then it flips from being this thing that you're like, oh, poor me, to, oh, poor everyone else who's going to have to fucking try. Yeah. And I think that is so much more motivating as a frame for the exact same circumstance.
Do what you love to do. This is very important. These are the four, this in terms of becoming unstoppable is fabulous, because if you do what you love to do, you will be like an irresistible force of nature. Do what you love to do and commit to becoming very good at it. All of our research indicates that the odds against there being another person like you are more than 50 billion to 1. In the entire history of humanity, there will never be two people like you. Never be two people with the same face. Never be two people with the same, even blood composition, exactly. Never be two people with the same outlook, the same talents, abilities, capacities. Never be two people just like you. And that every single person, or let us say 95% or more of the population, are born with the capacity to do something remarkable with their lives. And the starting point of personal greatness is when you say to yourself, what wonderful thing am I going to do with my life? Why am I here? I have this one life, this precious, precious life, and as you know, this life is not a rehearsal for something else. This is the real one. You say to yourself, what am I going to do with my life? Why am I here? What are my unique talents and abilities? Look back into your life and ask yourself, what is it that you've done in the past that you most enjoyed? What is it that you've done in the past that comes easy to you, but which may be difficult to others? What subjects did you do the best at in school? What are the things that interest you the most? What are the things you like to read about and talk about and learn about? What are the things that hold your attention? What are the things that are indicators that this is where you should be focusing all your talents and abilities? Whatever it is, find it, and then commit yourself to becoming excellent at it. You see, it's not possible for us to be happy unless we know we're good at what we do. A person who's not very good at what they do feels inferior when they're with people who are good at what they do. We've all had this experience, by the way, being around people who are at the top of their field when we're not. We feel just a little bit kind of overawed, like we're standing in the shadow of their light. And knowing that we're good at what we do makes us feel unstoppable. Yes. So if you are dreaming big dreams and you have clear goals and you accept total responsibility and you're doing what you love to do and you're getting better and better at it, and remember, excellence is a journey, not a destination.
You see, energy functions on frequencies, and that's what you're made of. Your body is a mass of living energy. A frequency is a level of vibration. That's exactly what a frequency is. There is an infinite number of frequencies. Remember I said you can think, activate brain cells, and you send off a charge of energy. Now stay with me here. This is so important, yet it's so misunderstood. There's an infinite number of frequencies. Every one of those little purple lines represent a level of vibration. Now, do you know, Albert Einstein, God bless him, he sure had his act put together, didn't he? He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics.
Your life. When did you start playing basketball, and at what age did it become your primary focus?
I think I was born to play, man. I started playing at like 2 years old. And my father wasn't one of these fathers that was like, you're going to play basketball, or, he wasn't one of those guys. It was just I was just around the game a lot, and I gravitated to the ball, and I was completely geeking out about like the smell of the ball and like the way it sounds when it hits concrete versus how it hits a parquet floor, and like the sound of the nets and the different material of the nets. And there's certain basketball hoops, like in high school gyms and in college gyms, the rim sits slightly above the lower part of the backboard. And it was like, I was geeking out if I got into a gym which was like the NBA, with the lower stanchion of the backboard and the hoop were completely parallel with each other. Like little shit like that would freak me out. So to answer your question, I was born to do this thing, man. And I did it nonstop all day long. From the age of 2 to...
In a survey of 104 chief executive officers a couple of years ago, they asked them, what qualities would most put a person onto the fast track for promotion in your company? And they almost unanimously answered the ability to set priorities and get the job done fast. The ability to pick what's important and then to get on with it and get the damn job done. Do you know, today, time is the currency, the key source of value of the 90s and beyond. And today, we value people who do things for us fast. Today, as a matter of fact, they have what is called queuing theory. When there's a queue and people join the queue, they say, and they estimate this all the time, how long a queue will a person join before they walk away and not buy any? It used to be 7, then it was 6, now it was 5, then it's 4. You know what queuing theory today is? It's 3. Person will walk, if there's 3 people in line, if that line is not moving, forget it, I won't buy it, I'll get it somewhere else. That's why they have to have people on almost like alert when people start to approach checkout counters or desks in banks. They watch, because as soon as there's 3 people, they better get up there, or those people will walk away, change their accounts. We don't even know we want it till today, now we want it yesterday. Isn't that right? When you sell products or services, it may take you 2 or 3 months to get the order, and now they want it last week. And they're very insistent it be delivered immediately, or they buy it from someone else. It's a most incredible thing. So therefore, get a reputation for having a sense of urgency. Get a reputation for having a bias for action. Get a reputation for fast tempo. Move fast, move quick. If a person asks you a question, you don't say, well, I'll get back to you next week. Get back to it now, quickly, as fast as you can. Develop a bias for action and say to yourself over and over, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. And if you add this like a rocket behind everything else, you become unstoppable.
I'm taking the ball out of bounds. It's like the 4th quarter, and the fan yells behind me, goes, Kobe, you're garbage. I turned around and I said, dude, be more creative. Like, we both know that's not true. Like say something that's kind of somewhat realistic, that can like needle me a little bit.
That you have to work hard to be successful. You can't just sort of drag along. We say in our society, you work 40 hours for survival, and everything over that each week is for success. If all you work is 40 hours, you just survive. You just sort of tread water in a steady stream that's moving down, and you tread water and you maybe just hold your place, and you pray to God you don't get laid off, because then you just go downstream so fast financially it's unbelievable. But when you're working hard, doing something you care about, achieving your goals and fulfilling your dreams and serving and helping people that you want to help, you become unstoppable. You become irresistible. Never consider the possibility of failure. Remember that in order to be successful, you have to fail a lot. Thomas J. Watson, the founder of IBM, was once asked by a young man, how could I be successful faster? And he said simply, he said, double your rate of failure. If you want to be successful faster, fail more often. You see, there's a law of probabilities that says the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. The less you fail, the less likely you are to succeed. Peter Drucker says you would never hire a person who has not had some major failures in life because they haven't learned anything. So the key is, if you want to be successful, don't be afraid of failure. Has anybody here ever failed, by the way? Have you ever failed? Yes. Does failure hurt you? No. Failure makes you strong. There's an old saying that what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Failure has made you strong. Failure has developed your character. There's an old saying that the north wind made the Vikings. The cold of the north wind coming out of the north that they had to row against made them the most formidable fighting force in the world. It's failure that makes us strong, but it's the fear of failure that kills us. And the way that you deal with the fear of failure is, once you've decided what your dreams are and what you want to do, act as if it were impossible to fail. Imagine it were impossible to fail. Say, by gum, I can do that, and just start to think of all the benefits of achieving that goal, and then act boldly. Confront your fears. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Do you know that the ability to confront the fear of failure and to overcome it and to move towards your fears rather than away from them is the one guarantor that you absolutely become unstoppable? If you do it over and over again, you develop the habit of courage. When you develop the habit of courage, eventually you find you're not afraid of anything. When you're not afraid of anything, your whole world opens up for you like a sunrise on the horizon. Everything becomes possible. You look around, a person says, what about this, what about that? I can do this, I can do that. I can do this, I can do that. You get to the point where you're willing to do anything except jump out of an airplane without a parachute. Because as they say, if at first you don't succeed, then skydiving is probably not for you.
your life. When did you start playing basketball, and at what age did it become your primary focus?
I think I was just born to play, man. I started playing at like 2 years old. And my father wasn't one of these fathers that was like, you're going to play basketball, or, he wasn't one of those guys. It was just I was just around the game a lot, and I gravitated to the ball, and I was completely geeking out about like the smell of the ball and like the way it sounds when it hits concrete versus how it hits a parquet floor, and like the sound of the nets and the different material of the nets. And there's certain basketball hoops, like in high school gyms and in college gyms, the rim sits slightly above the lower part of the backboard. And it was like I was geeking out if I got into a gym which was like the NBA, with the lower stanchion of the backboard and the hoop were completely parallel with each other. Like little shit like that would freak me out. So to answer your question, I was born to do this thing, man, and I did it nonstop all day long, from the age of 2 to.
You see, energy functions on frequencies, and that's what you're made of. Your body is a mass of living energy. A frequency is a level of vibration. That's exactly what a frequency is. There is an infinite number of frequencies. Remember I said you can think, activate brain cells, and you send off a charge of energy. Now stay with me here. This is so important, yet it's so misunderstood. There's an infinite number of frequencies. Every one of those little purple lines represent a level of vibration. Now, Albert Einstein, God bless him, he sure had his act put together, didn't he? He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics.
Let me leave you with this little poem, and it's called Don't Quit. And this poem is something you've all heard. It was written by someone named Anonymous, so we don't have to pay royalties for its use. And it says, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging is all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. For life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. So don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is just failure turned inside out. It's the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near, but it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. And if you don't quit, and if you keep on keeping on, then you will become unstoppable. Yes.
What doubts do you have about yourself internally?
I've never, doubt is such a strange thing. I mean, it's, there'll be times where you succeed and there are times that you fail. And so wasting your time doubting whether you're going to be successful or not is pointless. It is. I mean, you just put one foot in front of the other, you control what you can't control, and then you see what the outcome is, right? If you win, great, you're going to have to wake up the next day and do the journey over again. If you lose, it sucks, but you're going to have to wake up the next day and do the journey all over again anyway, right? So it's really pointless to sit here and debate or have doubt or this, that, and the other. You train as hard as you can, and you step out there and you let it flow.
Great pleasure in the fact that no one wants to be where the fuck you're at right now. Great pleasure in that. And what makes, it has to bring a passion out of you. It has to bring something very, very weird out of you, man. Like, people don't really understand what that is. When you're in the worst environment possible, the worst situation possible, and everybody's looking like, God, man, I hope this ends. And you see that. Time slows down and you see that. You're feeling that. Everybody has that look on their face like, God, this got to go. I don't want to be here anymore.
There's an enormous difference between knowledge and experience. He said, you see, Bob, if we read the book And we understand it. We can talk about what's in it. We have some knowledge. But he said experience is totally different. Experience is when you've done it. So you just don't think this is right information. You know it's the right information. What I teach here in our programs, I don't wonder if it works. I know it works. I'm going to be 87 in July, and I feel like I'm just getting warmed up. I have no intentions of slowing down. We earn millions of dollars. We operate all over the world. And I believe we share some of the most powerful information in the world. It's not just something I've studied. It's something I did.
We know that in America today, we have been sold a bill of goods. The bill of goods is that you can have a great life at 40 hours a week, and maybe 38 or 37 or 35. And the fact of the matter is, in 25 years of searching, I've never found a single successful person who works 40 hours a week. The number of successful people in America working 40 hours a week or less is somewhere between 0 and none. There aren't any, anywhere. And yet we're told, well, if you can't do it in 40 hours, it's not worth doing. The average work week for successful Americans is between 50 and 60 hours. Many work 70 and 80 and 90. They work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, or 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Very few people successful on 5 days a week. Very, very few people. I love to meet one. They're rare. Maybe they're in the Smithsonian, but they're very rare people. The fact is that successful people, especially during the important years of your life when you're building your estate, work 6 days a week.
As those who tell stories rule society. He said, learn lots of stories, Bob. Because he said, you are a story. You are a story. Now think about that. You are a story.
To dedicate yourself to serving other people. It was well written not long ago that nobody ever built a statue to a person for what they got, but only for what they gave. Is that your rewards in life will always be determined by the value of your service to other people. And so you have to look around you and say, what rewards am I getting right now? And there's two types of rewards, by the way. There's financial rewards, and there are, or tangible rewards, and there's intangible or emotional rewards. But all of your life satisfaction and true happiness and true rewards will come from serving other people. In fact, we are here. Albert Einstein was asked in the latter years of his life, what's the purpose of human life? And he said, after some thought, he said, well, we're here to serve others. What other purpose could there be? We're here to serve others. What other purpose could there be? Here's the interesting thing that I found out, is that you're only truly happy and only truly liberated and only feel wonderful about yourself and your life when you can lose yourself in doing something that you feel enriches and uplifts and enhances the life of other people. Every successful executive in every small and large company loses themselves in their work. Tom Peters, after writing In Search of Excellence, said, if you threw away the whole book, you'd have to keep one principle. It's an obsession with customer service. A friend of mine who teaches total quality management said, you know, you can take all the books and put them aside, and total quality management means just one thing, is find out what your customer really wants and give it to him. And give it to him at a good price and give it to him at a good quality, but that's all it is. Total quality life means dedicating ourselves to serving people that we care about. And if you're not happy with your work, do you know what it means? It means that those people you're serving may not be the right people for you. It doesn't mean that it's not bad work or that it's not good work. It just means that it may not be right for you. So therefore, you should look forward to working. You should love the work that you're doing. You should tremendously enjoy the results that you get for other people. And if you don't, it just means that there's something else that you should do. But you'll never be happy and you'll never be fulfilled and you'll never be unstoppable until deep in your heart you absolutely love serving the people that you serve. And the men and women who have dedicated their lives to service throughout human history are the ones that we admire the most. Albert Schweitzer, when he was alive, Mother Teresa today, probably the most respected person on the globe because she's dedicated her whole life to service. So think about it. Who do you want to serve? And then become very good at serving whoever it is.
I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. You always want to outwork your potential. You know, as hard as you believe you can work harder than that. And that's what I tried to do when I first came in the league. But, you know, basketball is such a direct competition sport that me coming in at 17, I hated when, like, my teammates would say, you know, I get hit with an elbow, right? Shaq would hit me with an elbow in practice. And, like, you know, Nick Van Exel would come up and say, "Are you okay?" I'm like, motherfucker, what? Are you okay? What the hell's wrong with you? You know, so like I always had that extra chip on my shoulder. So like every day in practice for me was really trying to annihilate everybody that I was playing against. Because I wanted to prove you don't need to babysit me. Like I'm fine, you know? And so it's always that competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. You know, playing with Byron Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? You know, Bird tough to defend. Why? Because you look slow as shit to me. So like, I'm missing something. So like, tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean? And so I would always ask questions and try to learn.
This is what I found. What if somebody came to that elephant and said, "Mr. Elephant, you don't have to stay here. You can do anything you want. You're the biggest animal in the world. That little thing can't hold you. All you have to do is pop loose and you can go." And he says, No. I've been stuck here for years, and every time I'm tied up, I stay here. Why? Well, because of this and because that's a habit. You know, I can't. I wish I would. I want to. Whoa. I'm too tall. I'm too short. I'm male, female, young, old, educated, uneducated. So what we say is, look, just try. Just try. I say, The very thought of trying something new or different is traumatic for most people. All right, I'll try it. All right. Pop. And the elephant thinks, my God, I've been tied up and made to work like a slave all these years, and that's what's been holding me. And the elephant gets mad and goes looking for its owner. And what do you call an elephant that gets mad and goes looking for its owner? You call it what? A rogue elephant. That's right. Now, each one of you has the capacity to be a rogue elephant, because you know something? There's nothing holding us back except the limitations we have in our own mind. That elephant is in reality unstoppable. And the most important goal that you can develop, the most important quality or characteristic that you can develop for happiness and success is to be unstoppable yourself, is to think of yourself as unstoppable. And you know how you become unstoppable? It's by the basic psychological behavioral development principle of simply saying it to yourself. Because whatever you say to yourself and believe over and over again, you start to believe as a reality. You start to walk it and talk it and act it. So what you say is, I am unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. I don't care what it is. I'm unstoppable. Nothing will stop me. The greatest of all qualities to guarantee success is the absolute willingness to go at anything and refuse to stop until you achieve it. And you know something? The statistics show that 95% of the goals that you set for yourself, you will achieve if you refuse to quit. So the starting point is just to simply say, I am unstoppable. Say it. Say, I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. Now say it like you mean it. Get your thumbs out of your mouths and say it like you mean it. Say, I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. Once more, I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. Yes. Now from now on, whenever you see a barrier or wall, or you think of anything you want to do or be, you say, wait a minute here. I'm unstoppable. Nothing stops me. And you know something? You will develop yourself to the point where nothing does.
You see, energy functions on frequencies, and that's what you're made of. Your body is a mass of living energy. A frequency is a level of vibration. That's exactly what a frequency is. There is an infinite number of frequencies. Remember I said you can think, activate brain cells, and you send off a charge of energy. Now stay with me here. This is so important, yet it's so misunderstood. There's an infinite number of frequencies. Every one of those little purple lines represent a level of vibration. Now, do you know, Albert Einstein, God bless him, he sure had his act put together, didn't he? He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics.
Truly successful people are absolutely honest and objective with themselves and their worlds. They practice the highest of integrity. There's nothing that so undermines your confidence and so weakens your resolve than feeling inside that you're not doing or saying the right thing. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true, and then it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man." Now, internal integrity, being true to yourself, being true to the very best that is in you, is the starting point. But the outward expression of it is doing what you do in a quality way. You see, the work that you do with your hands, the work that you choose to hand in, the work that you choose to represent, that would be a symbol of you, is a mark of your true level of integrity. A person who has a high level of integrity does excellent work. A person with a low level of integrity does whatever they can get away with. A person says, well, I'm a very honest person, as long as you don't give me a temptation. And the fact of the matter is, you can ask people, you say, an honest person? Yes, I am. Well, what if you could steal $1 million and nobody would know? Well, tell me about it. So basically, you're just a thief looking for an opportunity. Because a truly honest person, a person of high character, is a person that would not compromise their integrity for anyone or anything. Once you decide to be true to yourself, then the next extension, aside from your work, is to live in truth with others. Living in truth with others is one of the hardest and most challenging things we ever do. But it's also one of the great builders of your soul or destroyers of your soul. Because almost all of our problems in life talk back. Almost all of our problems in life come with hair on top. They come with two legs. And you find that men and women who are truly together as human beings are completely honest and direct with other people. If they're not happy with a situation, they say, I'm not happy with this situation. It doesn't mean you go and punch somebody in the face when you're not happy. It just means you say, I'm not happy with this situation, and I'd like to find a way to rectify it. And if the other person isn't willing to work with you to make you happy in the situation, you don't want to be in that situation anyway. It's absolutely amazing how many people stay in situations where the other person couldn't give a damn whether they were happy or not. And then they try to make the situation work. And they ask me for advice on how to make the situation work. And I say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. The fact is that if you live in truth with others, it means that you're perfectly honest with other people. And when you're perfectly honest with other people, you feel better about yourself. You feel stronger inside. Here's the key. Set peace of mind, the greatest of all human goods, as your highest goal. Set peace of mind as your highest goal and make everything else you do fit underneath it. Refuse to compromise your peace of mind for anything. And you know what? If you do, you'll probably never make another mistake. If you set peace of mind as my highest goal, and you say everything that I do or don't do from now on is either going to give me a sense of inner peace or I'm not going to do it. It takes tremendous courage to do this. But if you do it, you feel terrific about yourself. You feel powerful inside. You feel so good about yourself. You feel so focused and so light and so happy. But if you compromise your peace of mind, it's like kicking the chair out from under you psychologically and emotionally. So just refuse to compromise your peace of mind. Refuse to do it if you don't feel good about it. Listen to your inner voice.
You're going to lose sleep. You'll doubt whether it'll work. You'll stress to make ends meet. You won't finish your to-do list. You'll wonder whether you made the right call and have no way to know for years. This is what hard feels like, and that's okay. Everything worth doing is hard, and the more worth doing it is, the harder it is. The greater the payoff, the greater the hardship. If it's hard, good. It means no one else will do it. More for you.
Now, all successful people are those who consciously are aware that the self-doubt that holds most people back is something that they are heir to as well. And they're alert and sensitive to it. When a person says, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? They have a tendency to say, well, I can't because of this and I can't. Wait a minute. There's a story of a little boy. Goes to school for the first time. And the teacher says, do you play a musical instrument? He said, I don't know, I haven't tried yet. If you ask an adult, do you play a musical instrument? What will the adult say? Nope, I can't. No, never could. Don't have tone deaf. Don't have any musical ability at all. Do you know that every child has perfect pitch up to the age of 5? That every child has the ability to play classical music up to the age of 5? The Suzuki musical training systems have demonstrated that. You can start teaching kids classical violin at the age of 3. Just when they can barely move their hands, they can start to play. It's phenomenal. Yeah, most of us believe, I can't. You know, I don't have it. I can't do it. Our natural tendency is to sell ourselves short. Our natural tendency is to think of the reasons why we can't before we think of the reasons why we can. So the key to breaking ourselves out of the comfort zone and breaking ourselves loose of the shackle of helplessness is courage and confidence. We neutralize the antidote to fear and ignorance is desire and knowledge. And the more we learn about what we want to do and be and have, the more we believe that we can do it. The more we believe that we can do it, the more willing we are to try. And the more willing we are to try, the more likely it is we will succeed. What is the first part of triumph? The first part of triumph is to try.
We love to do. I mean, we talk about hard work all the time. It's like, you know, man, if you got to get up every single morning and remind yourself how hard you need to work, you probably need to choose a different profession, you know, because that shouldn't be there. I wake up in the morning excited to get to it. You know, if I'm not training, I'm missing it. If I'm not watching a game of basketball, I miss it. You know, there's no place I'd rather be. And if you have that feeling, then you're truly doing what God has put you on.
You see, energy functions on frequencies, and that's what you're made of. Your body is a mass of living energy. A frequency is a level of vibration. That's exactly what a frequency is. There is an infinite number of frequencies. Remember I said you can think, activate brain cells, and you send off a charge of energy. Now stay with me here. This is so important, yet it's so misunderstood. There's an infinite number of frequencies. Every one of those little purple lines represent a level of vibration. Now, do you know, Albert Einstein, God bless him, he sure had his act put together, didn't he? He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics.
Do what you love to do. This is very important. These are the four, this in terms of becoming unstoppable is fabulous, because if you do what you love to do, you will be like an irresistible force of nature. Do what you love to do and commit to becoming very good at it. All of our research indicates that the odds against there being another person like you are more than 50 billion to 1. In the entire history of humanity, there will never be two people like you. Never be two people with the same face. Never be two people with the same, even blood composition, exactly. Never be two people with the same outlook, the same talents, abilities, capacities. Never be two people just like you. And that every single person, or let us say 95% or more of the population, are born with the capacity to do something remarkable with their lives. And the starting point of personal greatness is when you say to yourself, what wonderful thing am I going to do with my life? Why am I here? I have this one life, this precious, precious life, and as you know, this life is not a rehearsal for something else. This is the real one. You say to yourself, what am I going to do with my life? Why am I here? What are my unique talents and abilities? Look back into your life and ask yourself, what is it that you've done in the past that you most enjoyed? What is it that you've done in the past that comes easy to you, but which may be difficult to others? What subjects did you do the best at in school? What are the things that interest you the most? What are the things you like to read about and talk about and learn about? What are the things that hold your attention? What are the things that are indicators that this is where you should be focusing all your talents and abilities? Whatever it is, find it, and then commit yourself to becoming excellent at it. You see, it's not possible for us to be happy unless we know we're good at what we do. A person who's not very good at what they do feels inferior when they're with people who are good at what they do. We've all had this experience, by the way. Being around people who are at the top of their field when we're not, we feel just a little bit kind of overawed, like that we're standing in the shadow of their light. And knowing that we're good at what we do makes us feel unstoppable. Yes. So if you are dreaming big dreams and you have clear goals and you accept total responsibility and you're doing what you love to do and you're getting better and better at it, and remember, excellence is a journey, not a destination.
To believe in the things you can see and touch. We've got things we can see and touch. That's no belief at all. To believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Do you know the biggest part of you you'll never see? The real you you'll never see. Now we've got to start to understand this. We've got to start to get it in the right slot in our mind. we've got to realize that there's so much to us that we don't really get, we don't understand. Our educational system is so lacking in teaching us who we are. You can study psychology, but most people that study psychology have never really got to know themselves. I'm talking about in depth, who you really are, your relationship to the whole scheme of things, or your relationship to God. You're talking about an infinite power, and you're created in that image. We have infinite potential locked up within us.
Once you have your goal, make a commitment to it. You see, we either develop good habits that make our lives wonderful, or we develop bad habits that undermine our success. And if we develop habits of setting goals clearly and making plans and setting deadlines and taking action, and then committing ourselves wholeheartedly to their accomplishment and refusing to stop because we're unstoppable, then we must ultimately achieve the goal. I've been studying this subject for 30 years. I never met anybody who could set a very clear goal for themselves and make a plan and work on it and keep on working on it who didn't eventually achieve their goal. In fact, if you think about your whole life, there wasn't anything that you ever wanted long enough and hard enough that you didn't eventually get. You always get what you want long enough and hard enough. So what we do is set our sights high.
I'm taking the ball out of bounds. It's like the fourth quarter, and the fan yells behind me, goes, "Kobe, you're garbage." I turned around and I said, "Dude, be more creative." Like we both know that's not true. Like say something that's kind of somewhat realistic, that can like needle me a little bit.
Accept complete responsibility for yourself and everything that happens to you. I used to be asked on radio and television, why are some people more successful than others? And I used to think it was goals, was the starting point. But you know what the real starting point is? To accept that if it's to be, it's up to me. Is that nobody's going to do it for me. You know, they say that the mark of maturity is when you finally realize that no one is coming to the rescue. No one's coming to the rescue. That the difference between the mature person and the immature person is the mature person accepts that they're totally responsible for their own life, that they are where they are and what they are because of themselves. Now this is a hard thing to accept, but you have decided exactly every single part of your life today. You've decided your income and your home and your health and your weight. You've decided your bank account and your car. You've decided your job and your future. You've decided every single part of it. Why? It's because you're free to choose. Freedom is a very, very wonderful thing. Tremendous upside, tremendous downside too. But freedom means that nobody imposes anything on you. So where you are and what you are is a result of all of your choices and decisions up to now. If you want to change any part of your future, then you simply change your choices and decisions in the present. The first thing to choose, the first thing to change, is to decide what it is that you want. But second of all is to decide that if I'm going to get it, it's up to me. We've said over and over again, see yourself as the president of your own life, the president of your own career, the president of your own personal corporation. Because in reality, all of us are self-employed. The worst mistake anyone can ever make is to ever think that they work for someone else but themselves. No matter who signs your paycheck, we all work for ourselves. Do you want a raise and pay? No problem. Go to the washroom next time you get a chance and negotiate with your boss in the mirror. And your raise will become effective as soon as you do. It's very simple. I've never met an employer who was not willing to pay a person more money if they will produce more value for the company. And the amount of value we produce is always up to us. So always say, I am responsible. I am responsible. I am unstoppable, and I am responsible for my own life. If I don't like something, it's up to me to change it. No excuses, no blaming. Never complain, never explain. If you're not happy with something, change it. Not willing to change it, shut up.
Control my adrenals. If you know how you get that fight or flight response when you get to move real quick.
Yeah.
And you know, I started learning the mind a lot, how to get myself jacked extremely fast, like in a horrible environment when everybody's miserable. I learned how to really find strength in the misery. When everybody's suffering, everybody's all poopy pants and their mentality's down and everything, I started just like, my God, this is where I shine. And I started using all that misery for tons and tons of drive and motivation to then lead people further. Because you can get a lot of power through misery. And once people see that, my God, Goggins is fucking going, then everybody says, Roger that. Let me get my shit and go too. So I started realizing that if you can just find strength just a little bit longer, you will have a crew of people following you along the way.
Is work all the time you work. When you do work, work. We've been brought up with this post-World War World War II affluence where people could get a job and do the job and get a good salary and life was fine, and those days are gone forever. The fact is that the average person working today wastes fully 50% of their time fooling around. They waste it socializing. They waste it on telephone calls. They waste it on lunches and coffee breaks. They waste it reading the newspaper. And then when they do work the other 50% of the time, they do what's fun and easy. They work on low-value tasks. They spin their wheels. But the successful people are those who work all the time they work. So if you're going to work 8 or 9 hours a day, and let's say you have a family, so you can't work more than that, then be sure that when you do work, you put more of yourself into the work. Because there's nothing that makes you feel more powerful than to know that you're on top of your work and you're making progress and you're getting things done. One of the reasons why so many people are out of balance today is because they waste so blasted much time at work and then they have to take the work home. Remember the story of the fellow kept bringing a briefcase full of work home, and his daughter was asking his wife, "Mommy, how come Daddy always brings a briefcase full of work home and works at night instead of spending time with the family?" And she says, "Well, honey, he doesn't get his work done at the office, so he has to bring it home and work on it." She said, "Well, why don't they put him in a slower class?" When you waste your time at work, what you're saying is, I should be put in a slower class, and sooner or later, you'll be put in a slower class. That always happens. It's called unemployment, downsizing, and things like that.
You can create your own economy. You can create the life you really want. Nothing tricky about it. Energy functions on frequencies. Remember we said that? A frequency is a level of vibration. There's an infinite number of vibrations, of levels of vibrations, of frequencies, an infinite number. Let's take a look again at what Albert Einstein said. So beautiful. Study this very carefully. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This isn't a philosophy, it's physics. Look at, when I sat down and wrote out that we would have, our company would operate all over the world, then I went to work. I had the idea. Mikey phones me. Now that was in 1973. It was just a couple of weeks ago she phoned. We're in every country in the world.
Be an unshakable optimist. This is wonderful. In other words, always look for the good in every situation. We know that a positive mental attitude is a foundation of a healthy, happy life. A positive mental attitude, an attitude of absolute confidence and determination that you can and be and do whatever you want, it goes hand in hand with all great success. The work on positive attitude concludes this, that how you feel about yourself is based on 2 or 3 factors. First of all, it's the way you look at situations. If you look for the good in other situations and other people, you always find it. You always have a tendency to find what you do look for. If you look for the valuable lesson in every setback, and every single day you're going to have setbacks and obstacles and difficulties and disappointment and so on, just look for the valuable lesson. The most important of all is the work done at the University of Pennsylvania, which concludes that we are optimists to the degree to which we control our explanatory style. Explanatory style means the way we interpret things to ourselves. If you interpret things to yourself in a positive way, you're going to be positive. If you interpret them in a negative way, you're going to be negative. So superior people are consciously taking everything that happens to them and looking for a positive way to put a twist on it. Here's an example. My friend Wayne Dyer says, would you like to have a happy childhood? Because he says it's never too late to have a happy childhood. You can have a happy childhood whenever you want. How do you do it? What you do is you turn around and you look back and you reinterpret the events that were so upsetting at the time as being events that were positive and that helpful, and they built your character and they taught you what you didn't want and what you wanted more of. They gave you direction to change and so on. In other words, if you take the time and you have some fun, you can take any negative situation you've ever had and you can turn it around and you can find something good in it, and by so doing, you become a positive person. You take control of your thinking, you take control of your personality, and the more optimistic you become in the achievement of your goals, the more unstoppable you become. Can you imagine a negative person as unstoppable? Negative people are stopped cold every time they turn around. But optimistic people have this momentum that drives them over any obstacles that come along. So talk to yourself positively all the time. Say, I like myself. I feel terrific. I feel happy. I feel healthy. I feel wonderful. The more you talk to yourself in a positive way, the better you feel.
Everything is energy. Now think. That's all there is to it. Everything is energy. Everything. Match the frequency of the reality you want. Yet you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics.
Cause and effect, going right back to what we talked about. Mental attitudes and personality are determined by things that we do. And there are certain things that you can do consistently every single day. And in so doing them, you'll build your self-confidence up and up and up to the point where you become unstoppable. And these are very simple things, and they're practiced by the most successful men and women who were so terrified they could not lead silent prayer in a telephone booth at one time. And they've built themselves up to the point where they're not afraid of anything by working on themselves. Just like a weightlifter builds up muscles, you can build up character, personality, and strength, and tenacity, and desire, and knowledge, and courage, and confidence by working on yourself. And so I'm going to give you now the 12 key principles, practiced by all high-achieving men and women. Very easy to learn, very easy to practice, don't cost anything. As a matter of fact, what I would ask is that you try them just a little tiny bit, and you'll get results out of all proportion to the efforts you put in. The first of all, starting point of great accomplishment is to dream big dreams. Number one, dream big dreams. Let your mind float free. All really exceptional men and women dream big dreams. They allow their minds to float. They think of what they could be and what they could do and what they really, really want. Here's an exercise for you. Take a piece of paper later on and write at the top, dream list, and then make a list of all your dreams. If you're married, sit down with your spouse and say, honey, let's make a list of everything we'd like to be, do, or have in the rest of our lives. But what about this and what about that? No, decide what's right before you decide what's possible. Don't decide, well, we can't afford this and we couldn't do that. We go, stop. That's helplessness. That's habit. That's these old negative habit patterns holding you back. Before you even decide what you want, most people are figuring out why they can't have it. What you do is you say, wait a minute, if I had no limitations, and this is the key, you dream as though you had no limitations. Nothing's holding you back. Imagine you have all the time, all the money, contacts, all the education, influence. You have everything going for you in the whole world. And just simply decide, these are my dreams, and write them down. Project yourself into the future and say, where do I want to be in 5 to 10 years? If I could design a perfect life, so my life was perfect in every respect, my relationships, my income, my work, my family, my health, my home, my car, what would it be? This is the starting point of great achievement, because what will happen is that if you can clearly define that target, you can hit it. You eventually always hit the targets that you set for yourself, but you can't hit a target that you can't see. So allow your mind to float freely. Allow yourself to engage in what is called blue sky thinking. Blue sky thinking means you just simply imagine you have the whole blue sky above you and no limitations, and then you write it down. And then you think and ask yourself this question. What one great thing would I dare to dream if I knew I could not fail? What one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? Imagine you were absolutely guaranteed of success in any one thing, big or small, long-term or short-term, in the whole world. What would it be? And write it down. Now, that doesn't make your heart pound a little bit faster. Then maybe somebody should nudge you with their elbow because you're probably not alive or awake. The fact is that when you start dreaming big dreams, you know what happens? Is your self-concept goes up, your self-esteem goes up. The very fact that you allow yourselves to dream big dreams causes you to feel better about yourself, see yourself better, think of yourself better, and it starts the process of making yourself unstoppable. You become unstoppable. People with big dreams that they're absolutely committed to are unstoppable human beings. It's people with little dreams and no hopes and no plans beyond tomorrow and next week. These are easy people to stop. But people that have big dreams to make wonderful lives for themselves, they're phenomenal.
It's those who tell stories rule society. He said, learn lots of stories, Bob. Because he said, you are a story. You are a story. Now think about that. You are a story.
People only root for people who don't need it. Like the amount of times when I was on my lonely path where I was too different from the friends that I had, but not successful enough to be friends with the people that I wanted to be friends with. That's when you want people to root for you. That's when you want people to support you. Once you've already won, people are like, he's amazing, he's so good. But like, that's the time when you need it the least. And so you always have to be the person who roots for you before everyone else does. And it's usually a single clap in the auditorium for a very long period of time. It is a slow clap that's just you rooting for you. And that visual, I think, is one that you can kind of take, because it is, people struggle to do things alone. And the path of the exceptional person is one of an exception, which means that you are not with other people. And rather than fighting that or bemoaning it, see it as an indicator that you're on the right path. Because if everyone else were cheering you on, then it means you're not in the right place, because it means you're just like everyone else, and that's not where you want to be.
After watching that film, I come to understand if I could work that hard every day, with being blessed with the physical tools that I have, what would my career be? And I made a promise to myself from that day that I was going to work that hard every single day, so that when I do retire, I have no regrets. And that was the most important thing for me, is to leave no stone unturned, get better every single day. And if I lived that way, then over time, I'd have something that was beautiful. But that was my philosophy. It seems like a pretty simple one, but if you live your life to just get better every single day, and do that for 20 years, what do you have?
3 shifts. There's 8 instructors, 3 shifts. Because, the guys going through Hell Week, they're up all day and all night for 130 hours. This is the promised land of mental hardening for me. I love this place. And you have the instructors who they've been there, done that. Now they're instructing you. So they do their 8-hour shift. They have their parkas on. It's usually cold, coffee, drinking their coffee, and they're beating the crap out of us. And when I started realizing, I started playing mind games. I was like, you know what? I bet these fuckers are looking at us, judging themselves about when they were going through Hell Week. About, let me see, I'm looking at Goggins right now. I was better than him. I was better than that guy. I was better than that fucker over there. And I was like, okay, you got to judge me, right? All right. So that's what I'm going to do to you. So what I started doing was I got my Boat Crew 2. It's in the book. It's a great, great story. I said, come here, guys.
You can't break Boat Crew 2.
You can't break Boat Crew 2. So it's Wednesday, and everybody's broken. Everybody's beat up, man. And like this, when you start moving like a robot. Everybody's like just trying to get through Hell Week now, and your energy's zapped. And they know Wednesday's like that over the hump.
I love that you talked about that in the book too, that they put it in your head that Wednesday you're going to be tired.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. They tell you how you're supposed to feel, so you are feeling that way. I was like, don't let these motherfuckers tell you how you're supposed to feel. No, it's day 1, motherfucker. This is hour 1. So I was getting my Boat Crew all jacked up. I said, we're going to take these motherfuckers' souls. So when they had us doing this simple thing that guys were struggling with, Boat Crew 2 was just launching the fucking boat and you're yelling, yeah, you can't fucking hurt us. You can't hurt Boat Crew 2. And I looked on the instructors' faces and it looked like someone had just fucked with their soul. And I looked at my guys in my boat crew and I said, hey, guess what? Those motherfuckers aren't fucking tonight. We own space in their fucking head. We own space. They're going to think about us tonight. They could think about how the fuck.
You're killing boners.
That's right. Charging. And we start fueling off of that. We start fueling off the fact that, man, it takes 1 second of energy to steal everybody's. And then you have all the energy you need. That's all you need. You need to look at someone's eyes. You know how it is when you fight somebody and you broke that motherfucker. He's like, oh, God, man, I don't want to go back to the next round. And you feel like, my God, I can fight all day. I can fight all day long. That's what taking souls is. But you have to have the will, the heart, the courage to go that distance when you're exactly jacked up. You have nothing left to give and give more.
Wants are where it starts. You know where wants come from? I'm going to tell you. Look at me. You have at the center of your being, your spiritual DNA is perfect. There's perfection within us. Now that perfection has so much junk on top of it that we call a paradigm, that it has difficulty expressing itself. That spiritual perfection within us is always seeking expression with and through us. That's why we always want more. Now, when I was a little kid, my grandmother said, "You always want more. You should be satisfied with what you've got." Grandma was an angel of God, but she was wrong. You should never be satisfied. Dissatisfaction is a creative state. It's dissatisfaction that causes you to reach, to stretch. What do you really want? What do you really want? That comes from the essence of who you are. Now that's not to get. Getting is nice too. That gives you greater physical comfort. You can have all the good you desire. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier this morning. He said something just about blew my mind. I loved it. I wrote it down. He was saying it's his girlfriend's birthday this week. I know his girlfriend didn't have a week's birthday, but he said, we're celebrating it all week. We're having a birthday lifestyle. He said, we've already got a birthday lifestyle. And I love that. That's what you want. You want to have a birthday lifestyle. Everyday celebration. What do you want? The want is not to get. That's a side benefit. The want is to grow. It's for you to bring more of you to the surface. You're God's highest form of creation. The wants turn into desire. Desire comes from the Latin desire, to give birth to the children, to give birth to the idea. The want creates the desire. The more you feed the desire, the stronger it becomes. Desire is the effort of the unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without through your action. The desire is what moves into form. Now, that's where you're going. That's what you want to do. It's all vibration. It all has to do with energy.